All right, let's jump right in. We're talking about something that's hitting just about every global company on the planet. You see, the old rulebook for how we work across borders, it's being completely torn up and rewritten as we speak, all thanks to this perfect storm of new tech, human pressure, and just a whole lot of global complexity.
Okay, so to really get this, let's look at how deeply things have changed. On the left, you've got the old model. The lifelong expat, the classic road warrior who's racking up thousands of air miles just for a single meeting. Honestly, those are becoming relics of the past. The new reality, what we see on the right, is just way more dynamic. We're talking about digital nomads, business trips that are laser-focused on purpose and ROI, and teams that are truly global and spread all over the place.
So what's driving all this change? Well, it's really three massive forces all hitting at once. And let's start with the first one, the great tech disruption. This isn't just about a few new apps. It's more like a technological tsunami. And right at the center of it all, artificial intelligence. Look, AI is here. That's a fact. The real question is, are any of us actually ready for it? And just to be crystal clear, AI isn't some far-off prediction. It's happening right now. I mean, this number says it all. A whopping 78% of organizations have already woven AI into at least one part of their business. It's here, and it is moving incredibly fast.
But here's the rub. The technology is being rolled out at a breakneck speed, which leads to the one question that every single leader should be asking themselves. Is my workforce actually prepared to use this stuff effectively?
And this slide shows the massive disconnect we're talking about. Just look at that first bar. For jobs that are getting hit with AI, the skills you need are changing 66% faster. That is an insane pace of change. But then you look at the second bar, and you see that only a quarter of workers are getting any real training on AI. That chasm right there, that's the readiness gap, and it's a huge, huge risk for any company.
That readiness gap leads us right into the second major force here, which we're calling the people paradigm shift. Because while everyone's obsessed with the technology, the actual people, the human element of our global workforce, are under an unbelievable amount of pressure. And frankly, they're at a breaking point.
And this really puts the scale of that crisis into perspective. 83% of workers are reporting some level of burnout. Just let that number sink in for a second. This isn't just a few people having a tough week. This is a systemic, widespread problem.
And of course, that kind of burnout has a direct impact. Engagement is in an absolute free fall. The number of people who actually describe themselves as engaged at work has plummeted to just 64%. That is a shocking nosedive from 88% just a year ago. You just can't run a global company on a workforce that's burned out and checked out.
Now, this whole new world of flexible work, which is often a response to burnout, it creates its own complicated new problems. And one of the biggest ones is something called permanent establishment risk, or PE risk. So what is that in plain English? It's the risk that your employees, working remotely from another country, could accidentally create a taxable presence for your company in that country, leading to all sorts of unexpected tax bills. It's a huge compliance headache, and global bodies like the OECD are all over it.
Okay, so we've got disruptive tech and a workforce at its breaking point. That brings us to the third and final force in this storm. We are all operating in a much, much more complicated world. Geopolitics, new regulations, and all sorts of new risks are all converging at the exact same time. And the data on this is really clear. If you ask global executives what keeps them up at night, geopolitical instability is now their #1 risk to growth. It's even higher on their list than a bad economy or tech disruption. Things like trade wars, visa crackdowns, sanctions. These aren't side issues anymore, they are front and center business risks.
And what's interesting is how these risks hit different work models in different ways. Just take a look here. Geopolitical risk? Yeah, that's a huge problem for traditional assignments and for business travel. But what about all the new regulations popping up? Well, that's a high risk for assignments and for your cross-border remote workers. You really have to know how each threat maps to your people.
This all leads us to a quote that just perfectly captures the central challenge here. Work is becoming more distributed, but governance is becoming more localized. Think about that. Your people are spreading out all over the world, but the rules on tax, on law, on privacy are getting tighter and more specific in every single one of those places. That's the tightrope every global company is walking right now.
So, the billion-dollar question is, how do you even begin to navigate all this? How do you build a resilient organization in this new reality? It all comes down to creating a completely new global playbook. So, let's take a look at what needs to be in it.
To win today, you need a totally integrated approach. First up, you can't have silos anymore. Your workforce plan, your mobility strategy, and your compliance team all have to be working from a single, cohesive plan. Second, you have to build the infrastructure for compliance to manage all those legal and tax risks we talked about. Third, you've got to redesign travel. Get away from that old road warrior model and focus on purposeful trips that actually deliver ROI and don't burn people out. And finally, diversify your talent. Look for people in new places and use flexible models like an employer of record to hire people in countries where you don't even have an office. It's all about agility.
So, as these massive forces, tech, people, and global complexity, keep reshaping our world, I'll just leave you with this one final question to think about for your own organization. Is it truly built for resilience in this new era, or is it still locked in the past?